my name is Courtney Gehle. I'm a 22-year-old South African student at the University of Pretoria, and I also work part-time for the United Nations Industrial Development Organization for their Global Cleantech Innovation Program. And I was selected as one of the 16 EDD Young Leaders 2017. Well, my experience at EDD absolutely exceeded any expectation that I had. It honestly was one of the most incredible times of my life, just in terms of personal growth, in terms of what I learned about, especially public speaking. I thought I was a half-decent public speaker before I attended, and I realized through the training that there was a lot more to learn. Also, the networking was unbelievable. I really came away with some fantastic contacts that I plan on following up with, and so it just exceeded every expectation. I think there's nothing more that you can say about that. Yeah, so my panel, the African Renewable Energy Initiative, gave me so much grief. I was so nervous. I was so scared that I was going to get up there and say something really silly, because I was on a panel with heads of private sector renewable energy organizations, one of the African Union commissioners, as well as heads of development banks. So I was freaking out about it. And I remember someone said to me, they don't expect you to be able to talk to renewable energy at the same level as these people. They expect you to bring the youth perspective. My best moment, I got to meet my all-time hero, Jeffrey Sachs. When I was still a first-year student at university, I remember thinking how unsatisfied I was with my university curriculum, because it really wasn't speaking to what I was interested in. And so I took a sustainable development course online that he offered, and he was the person who kickstarted my whole interest in sustainable development, the reason why I started my organization, the reason why I persevered so much and gave up on going to lectures and spending time with my friends, because I saw the future that he was talking about, and I could see it, and I knew I wanted to work towards it. So meeting him and having him sign his book really was so incredible. And then the following day I had the opportunity to hear him speak on a panel, and I promise you, you could have heard a pin drop. He is the most captivating speaker, and it was an absolutely incredible experience to meet him. My message to you is, don't give up. Keep persevering, because your voice matters. Your message matters. And that's something that they really reinforced with us when we were in Brussels, is that what we have to say matters. Our age does not mean that what we think or feel or have or our ideas are any less important than people who are older than us. And it was actually the Prime Minister of Norway who said to us, she was speaking directly to us EDD young leaders, and she said that we had the right to demand from our governments and from our leaders what we want. So my message is to don't give up, don't be afraid, and don't be scared to demand the future that we want from our leaders. So the easiest way to get hold of me is via email. It is courtney.gehle, my name dot my surname, @gmail.com. I'm also available on Twitter and Instagram at Courtney Gehle on both platforms. So yeah, you can get hold of me that way.
Courtney Gehle, young leader. Now, you have been listening to, let's say, the present protagonists and leaders. At least they show a big awareness and even a strong commitment. Now you are a bit in the middle. You are a young leader of a movement in particular, and you are certainly a leader of the future. What you expect out of it, and what you would like to bring over in order to consolidate not only an awareness, but also a reality. And therefore, which is the message that you can pass in order to push everybody, maybe to do it better, to do it faster, to do it in a way that you then take over something which will be already structured. Please, Courtney.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from the private sector, we've heard from financing institutions, we've heard from governments, we've heard from African Union. Now I'd like to give you the most important voice in development, the voice of the youth. And as a young person who represented Africa at COP21, as one of the young people who drafted the Youth Resolution on Climate Change in Paris, I was particularly proud and very excited when I first read the framework for the Africa Renewable Energy Initiative, or ARRAE. So as someone working on the ground, the potential that this framework could have was almost unbelievable to me. And I really see this as a fantastic opportunity, not only to involve youth and women in this initiative, which is my personal background, but as to revitalize our continent. So I'd like to take this from the perspective, as I mentioned, my perspective, that of women and youth, and give a youth response to this initiative. And I think it's important to note that yesterday in the opening ceremony of EDD, there was mentioned many times how important it is to include women and youth and put them at the center of development to ensure that it is whole and inclusive. And I'm really happy in particular to see that ARRAE included an aspect in the policy of gender-sensitive policies, because as many of us know, women and children in particular often bear the brunt of energy poverty, and they have been the victims of previous policies in energy that have been gender blind. And just as an example that was mentioned by Madame Royale earlier, women living in rural communities who have to go each day and collect sources of energy for themselves, walking under these big structures, these big power lines, and yet not having access to electricity or to energy. Over the years, there have been many investments in energy in Africa, renewable and conventional energy, and yet we still see this massive gap in gender access to electricity. Unacceptable in 2017, if you ask my opinion. And this is for a particular reason, quite a practical reason. When you're investing in energy, you'd invest in the formal economy, and many women in Africa operate in the informal economy. And so I would implore those implementing this initiative to understand the context of women and to take that into account when they are implementing this initiative. Secondly, I would like to say that many people would see this as a challenge, but I see this as an opportunity to address the African youth bulge and the concerns around that in terms of this framework. So my one comment on both the ARRAE and the Sustainable Energy for All framework is that youth is not mentioned once in either framework. And in Africa, 60% of the population is under the age of 35, and there's a huge problem of youth unemployment. So I would like to suggest that as this framework, we see it as an opportunity not only to tackle environmental challenges, energy challenges, infrastructure challenges, but to use it as an opportunity to tackle youth unemployment in Africa. And I believe that this has the huge potential to revitalize the youth of Africa and to ensure that they become more involved and become stakeholders in their continent once more, because I feel as though they've been left out of these conversations for too long. And as we all know, energy is an enabler for development. And so not only will initiatives such as ARRAE promote economic growth, they will also are important in creating new markets, in providing apprenticeships, in providing the updates to educational curriculums that youth need. And I think that this is really an opportunity to maintain and retain the rich human capital that Africa has, aside from losing youth to other continents such as America and Europe. I really see this as an opportunity to keep youth on our continent and to keep them engaged in these discussions. And so I'd like to take this opportunity to please implore the panel, please give us the opportunity, give us a chance, trust us. We're more capable than you might think. And so that's one thing I'd love to say. And in closing, to me personally, the SDGs mean that no one gets left behind. And as a 22-year-old South African working on the ground, I see ARRAE as a fantastic opportunity to ensure that women and youth are not left behind in this initiative to really take our continent to the next level.
Thank you, Courtney, because this is the moment that I hate the most, the moderator, that I cannot allow to go on with question and answer because time is over. But I would like to say that probably the formula to wrap up was exactly what Courtney just said. Just recalling also that these European Development Days are precisely under 2 stars, gender and youth. And I think that to call on a collective responsibility, which is in the making, in thinking, in involving, in trusting, I think probably for me is the best way to wrap up this session. I will simply invite, because I apologize for material reasons, we cannot go on with a further comment and question because literally this place is taken over by other events. I would invite you to keep networking, as we say, here around, in order maybe to contact also personally the different panelists in order to maybe go a bit more in deep on a certain number of points. But I would like to thank you all first for your contribution, and thank you to the public. Thank you, Courtney, also for this conclusion, which was very tough and very full of push for all of us. And thank you again for your participation.